Vivek Chudamani, presented by Svayam Prakash Sharma, Part 16. Part 16 consists of verses 435 to 461, in which the Guru continues his discourse on Brahm while listing out some of the characteristics of a person who is liberated in life. He also tells about Prarabdha karma. Vivek Chudamani. The Guru continues his discourse. He says, since he knows that there is only one existence, which is Brahm, therefore there is the absence of all ideas of exterior or of interior in the case of a person who is engrossed in tasting the bliss of Brahm. And this is a characteristic of a person who is liberated in life. The person who lives without any concern or care whatsoever, who is devoid of all ideas of I and mine with regard to the body, with regard to the organs and the like, and also with regard to his duties. Such a jnani is free from egoism, even though he may be extremely active. And such a person is known as one who is liberated in life. The person who, helped by the discriminating truth that is taught by the scriptures, the person who has realized his Brahmhood and who is free from the bondage of transmigration, such a person is known as one who is liberated in life. The person who never has the idea of I with regard to the body, with regard to the organs and the like, nor does he have the idea of it in respect of things other than these, such a person is accepted as one who is liberated in life. The person who, because of his illumination, never differentiates between Jeev, the individual soul, and Brahm, the universal soul, nor does he differentiate between the universe and Brahm, such a person is known as one who is liberated in life. The person who feels just the same when his body is worshipped by the good or when it is tormented by the wicked, such a person is known as one who is liberated in life. The sannyasi in whom the sense objects that are directed towards him by others, when those sense objects are merged in him, just like the flowing rivers are merged in the sea without causing any change in the sea, when those sense objects are similarly merged in him without producing any change whatsoever in him, because of his identity with the existence absolute, such a sannyasi is indeed liberated. When other people thrust sense objects on such a sannyasi, then whatever comes within his knowledge, that only strengthens his identity with Brahm. For the person who has realized the truth of Brahm, there is no longer any attachment that he had to those sense objects before his realization. If, however, any attachment continues, any attachment remains to the sense objects, then it means that the person has not yet realized his identity with Brahm, but he is one whose senses are still outgoing in their tendency, as in the case with ordinary people who are under the sway of the senses and who have not yet realized Brahm. If for such a person it is argued that he is still attached to the sense objects through the momentum of his old desires, then the reply to such an argument would be an emphatic no. Because all such desires get weakened and ineffective through the realization of one's identity with Brahm, and the fact that he is still attached to the sense objects confirms that he has not yet realized his identity with Brahm. The propensities even of a confirmed debauch are kept in check in the presence of his mother. In the same way, when Brahm, the bliss absolute, has been realized, then the man of realization no longer has any worldly tendency. All his worldly tendencies are under check. The person who is constantly practicing meditation, he is observed to have external perceptions, such as satisfying the physical needs or teaching inquirers. The Shruti of the Chandogya Upanishad tells about Prarabdha works, which is the strong resulting impression of work done in past lives. The work which has engendered the present body. In the case of such a person, this is evident from the fact that the body continues to exist even after realization, which is evident from the fact that the person has experiences during this period, which can only be explained by assuming that Prarabdha continues to work. As long as there is the perception of happiness and the like, so long is Prarabdha work acknowledged to exist. Before every result, there has to be an action. A result can never occur independent of an action. Through the realization of one's identity with Brahm, all the accumulated actions of even 100 crore cycles of births, all the accumulated actions come to be totally wiped out, like the actions of the dream state, which are totally wiped out on waking. Can the good actions that a person commits during the dreams, can those good actions lead him to heaven? Or the dreadful sins that he commits during dreams, can those dreadful sins take him to hell after he wakes up? Certainly not. The Atma is unattached and indifferent like the sky. Realizing that Atma, the aspirant is never touched in the least by actions that are yet to be done. The sky is not affected by the smell of liquor only because of its connection with the jar that holds the liquor. In much the same way, the Atma too, because of its connection with the limitations, is not affected at all by the properties of those limitations. The Atma is like the sky. It is always unattached. Even though the ignorant people superimpose the connection with external things on the Atma, in spite of that, the Atma always remains unattached. The work which has fashioned the body before the dawning of knowledge, that work is not destroyed by that knowledge without yielding its fruit. It is just like the arrow that has been shot at an object. The arrow cannot stop midway without reaching the object. It must and it does reach its object, its target. The arrow which is shot at an object with the idea that the object is a tiger, when, after shooting the arrow, it is discovered that the object is not a tiger but a cow, even then the arrow cannot check itself midway, but continues towards its target and hits the cow with full force. One should understand that the Prarabdha work is certainly very strong for the man of realization, and it is exhausted only when the actual fruit of that work has been experienced, while the actions that have been previously accumulated and those that are yet to come, all those actions are destroyed by the fire of perfect knowledge. But none of these three in any way affects those who, realizing their identity with Brahm, are always living absorbed in the idea of that Brahm. They are in fact themselves the transcendent Brahm, and therefore all those actions have no effect on him whatsoever. For the sage who lives in his own self, for the sage who lives in his own Atma as Brahm, the one without a second, who is devoid of identification with the limiting adjuncts, who does not recognize and know any limiting adjuncts, the question of the existence of Prarabdha work is totally meaningless. It has no meaning whatsoever. Like the man who has woken up from sleep has no connection whatsoever with the objects that he sees in the state of dreams. The person who has woken up from sleep never has any idea of I or mind with regard to the dream body and the dream objects that cater to that dream body, but lives quite awake as his own self, as his own Atma. He has no desire whatsoever to substantiate the unreal objects, nor is he seen to maintain the world of his dreams. If he still clings to those unreal objects, then it must be said with absolute certainty that he is not yet free from sleep. In the same way, the person who is absorbed in Brahm, he lives identified with that eternal reality and he sees nothing else. And just as a person has only a faint, fleeting memory of the object seen in a dream, in the same way, the man of realization also has only a faint, fleeting memory of everyday actions such as eating. The body has been fashioned by karma. So a person may imagine Prarabdha work with reference to that body. But it is not reasonable to attribute the same Prarabdha work to the Atma, because the Atma is never the outcome of any kind of work. Shrutis such as the Kat Upanishad, whose words are infallible, they have declared the Atma to be birthless, to be eternal and undecaying. Therefore, to the person who lives identified with that Atma, how can Prarabdha work be attributed to such a one? Prarabdha work can only be maintained as long as a person lives identified with the body. At the same time, no one admits that the man of realization identifies himself with the body. Everyone knows that the man of realization does not identify with the body. That being the case, therefore, Prarabdha work should be rejected in such a case. At the same time, the attributing of Prarabdha work even to the body is also certainly an error, is also certainly a mistake. How can something that is superimposed on another have any existence? And how can that which is unreal have a birth? And how can that which is not being born die at all? The body, being an effect of Maya, is unreal, and it would be absurd to speak of Prarabdha work as affecting the unreal body. So, how can Prarabdha work exist for something that is unreal? Yes, how can Prarabdha work exist for something that is unreal? This concludes part 16 of Vivek Chudamani. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om.